Okie dokie. Marvellous. Oh, there's still a few more coming in, because some people just can't make it for the meditation, so they come for the 8 o'clock talk. And some people can't stay for the 8 o'clock, they've got stuff to do, so they just come for the meditation. Either way, all these talks are put on the internet, on YouTube, which means that if you can't hear them here, you can hear them later on. And of course these YouTube talks are so well known that many people, unfortunately, they come to see me and say, "You're like a TV star, can I have your autograph, can I have your photograph?" I still can't really get my head around why they want to have a photograph of a fat old monk. But that's my life these days. But anyway, what I want to talk about this evening, I always try to make some subjects up about your life and how some of these teachings in the Dharma, Buddhism, can actually help. So what I want to talk about this evening is like blame, and just why it is that sometimes people blame us and what we should do, and why we always tend to blame others, and what a counterproductive thing that is as well. And I'm not sure about you, but I'm pretty confident maybe in the last week or the last month or something, people have blamed you many times. And even just a couple of days ago, I'm supposed to be teaching a meditation retreat in Jhana Grove. Still have to go there to carry on tomorrow morning. I'm again moonlighting, just doing 2 jobs at once. So after here I just go straight back to Jhana Grove to carry on the retreat over there. But this gentleman came up to in the interviews and he started blaming me. He said to me, "Before I listened to your talks," he said, "I've been bankrupt twice, I was very miserable, and you, Ajahn Brahm, made me happy." He was blaming me for taking away his misery and making him happy. He was only joking around, but I get blamed for everything. It's not my fault. You made yourself happy. But often the blame is even worse than that. They blame you for something which you're not responsible for. Like, it's actually this moment has passed now, but always in early November, maybe late October, usually around that time, it's a bit late now, you get many people, young people, coming to the temple to ask for a Buddhist blessing. And the reason is because they're doing their exams. And they're starting to worry. And sometimes the worry gets them to being desperate. They worry and say, "Oh, please, Ajahn Brahm, please can you give me some chanting because I don't think I've done so well, I'm not going to do so well." And you always try and give them some encouragement. At the very least, a little bit of chanting or ceremonies. It might just give them some encouragement, some confidence, which is the most important thing of success. Just feeling you can succeed. So however I can make them feel they can succeed, that works. So I gave them some blessing. But this one lady, she was a Malaysian girl. She was doing a university, I think first year, end of the year exam. And she wanted me to do some chanting. And I always oblige. I will chant for anything, just about. And I chanted for some weird stuff in my life. But anyway, I did some chanting for marriages, chanting for babies, chanting for divorces, chanting for may the divorce go well. Oh, well. Anyway, so this case, chanting so she passes her exams. And really gave it everything I've got like usual, and I never saw her again. She disappeared. But I saw her friends. And her friends came to tell me that that particular girl was going around the university telling everybody Ajahn Brahm is not a good monk. That the monks in this temple are hopeless. That we don't really know what real Buddhism is. And the reason was because she failed. She failed her exams and she blamed me. And the friend said, look, don't worry about it, Ajahn Brahm, it's not your fault. First year away from her family in Kuala Lumpur, in Perth, freedom at last. And so first year she had so many parties, so many nightclubs, so much messing around that she never actually did any study. She never went to the lectures. She never did the assignments because she was under the impression that Ajahn Brahm is a great monk and I will look after that part of her university life. Which is hopeless. I can't do that, my man of good. At least you have to go to your lectures and do your assignments. I can help you a little bit, but you have to do much of the work. But it's amazing just how you can get blamed for something which you're not really responsible for at all. And, of course, that happens to you a lot. You are blamed for things you didn't do. So, what do you do when that happens? You get told off, cajoled for something which you are innocent of. Number one, you can't stop people blaming you. That's just our culture. They always want someone to blame. If it's not you, it's their mother or their father. If it's not them, it's the economy. If it's not them, it's the government. If it's not our government, it's Donald Trump. We're always blaming somebody. Wow, just even mentioning Donald Trump's name, you get a joke. You get laughter. But I've been telling somebody there is a real Donald Trump joke. It's a terrible one. I told a few people that I don't know if you heard that Donald Trump, there was an assassination attempt. Somebody tried to kill him, and they pulled out a gun, and the Secret Service, when they saw the gun, they shouted out, "Donald, duck!" And the gunman couldn't pull the trigger. He was too busy laughing. That's going to happen sometime. Anyway, don't blame me for that joke. That's just, I heard it from somebody else. But anyway, so sometimes people blame you for things you didn't do. Sometimes they blame you for the things you did do. Either way, how can you deal with that? Number one, if you didn't do it, just forget about it. Why do you allow other people's mistakes, blaming you for things you didn't do, to spoil your day? You didn't do anything wrong, they just misunderstood. They got the wrong person. So why can't you let it go? And the reason is because we're so used to accepting criticism and blame. Even if it's not really valid, we still accept it, which is absolute madness. What I was taught as a young monk was, if anybody blames you, it's like somebody calls you a dog. And if somebody calls you a dog, I was trained to always look at my bottom to see if I had a tail. And if I didn't find a tail on my bottom, it meant I wasn't a dog. Because all dogs have tails, big ones, small ones, but they all have a tail. So if you haven't got a tail, you're not a dog. So you say to that person who's blamed you and criticised you, "I'm sorry, sir, you're wrong." But you don't keep it. You can let it go. Now sometimes people give you really strong blame at work, in life. And many years ago I developed a simile for how you should behave when somebody really blames you and blames you and blames you and blames you for something you never did. And it's a story of the donkey. Once upon a time, there was a donkey just walking in the forest, minding its own business. And walking in the forest, minding its own business, not being very mindful, he didn't notice a big hole in the forest floor. It was a disused well. And that donkey fell right into that well, into the bottom of it. Fortunately, the well was dry, so the donkey didn't drown. And also, it wasn't that deep, so the donkey never broke any bones. But when the donkey stood up in the bottom of the well, he knew he was in big trouble, because donkeys can't climb out of wells. So the donkey was stuck in the bottom of the well. And so what did the donkey do? He started shouting for help. Ee-haw! 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 Which in donkey language means help. And the donkey was shouting and shouting for a long time, over an hour. Ee-haw! Ee-haw! Until finally somebody heard him. And the person who heard him was an old farmer. And the old farmer wondered what on earth was this sound, and he followed the sound and saw this donkey in the bottom of the well. And the farmer never liked that donkey. And the farmer looked at that poor old donkey stuck in the bottom of the well. Serves you right. It's karma. You've been stealing all of my crops, eating apples from my tree, and not yours, they're mine. Serves you right. And poor donkey, ee-haw, ee-haw, have some compassion. And the farmer, blaming the donkey, thought, I know what to do with this bad donkey. And he got out a shovel, and he started shoveling earth all over that donkey. And the donkey first wondered, what on earth is he doing? And then finally the donkey realized, that farmer is trying to bury me alive. Ee-haw! Ee-haw! I'm too young to die, that means in donkey language. And the farmer said, serves you right. I've always wanted to get rid of you. You've fallen in the hole by yourself. Now I'm going to bury you alive to get rid of you once and for all. And the donkey really started screaming, ee-haw, ee-haw, ee-haw! Don't! And after a few minutes, the donkey fell silent. And the farmer thought, wow, that's really quick. I've buried him already. But the farmer hadn't buried the donkey yet. The donkey had got, we call in Buddhism, insight, wisdom, understanding. Because what this donkey decided, I'm not going to allow this bad farmer to bury me. I am not going to just take this. There's something I can do. And what the donkey did, the next shovelful of earth over the donkey's head, he just shook it off, stamped it in, and the donkey was 1 centimeter higher. Another shovelful of earth, shake it off. Oops, okay. That was supposed to happen, but never mind. It's okay, I've got the clock over there, that's fine. So, stamp it in, make the clock fall, and the donkey was another centimetre higher. Every shovelful of earth, the donkey just shrugged it off, stamped it in, and was higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And soon, the donkey was so high in the well, he could just jump out of the well, and according to the story as I first read it, he bit the man on the backside to show you must always watch your ass, donkey, instead of just trying to bury it. And he ran away. And that is how we can take blame and criticism. Instead of just going, what are you doing that to me for? That's really unfair, that's really cruel. Instead, someone blames you. What do? You shake it off. You stamp it in. And then you're a little bit higher in life. Which is a wonderful way of dealing with people who blame you. Shrug it off, stamp it in, and you'll always have growth in life. You're higher, rather than staying in the bottom of the well and allowing people to bury you alive just by throwing all this criticism at you, which you do not deserve. So, this is a basic teaching of Buddhism. There's always something you can do with what life gives you. That's what the law of karma means. What you get in life, sometimes you can't control, or sometimes maybe it is your past karma. Like this one man, and I will never forget him. He was a prisoner in Karnat prison many, many years ago. And I used to teach meditation in that prison. And if you don't know this story, this is when I first went into a prison to teach meditation. And you cannot make up these stories. Real life is funnier than any story anyone can concoct. Because when I went into this prison to teach meditation, it was actually the old Canning Vale jail. I think it's called, what's it called now? Hakea. Yeah, over in Canning Vale. And at that time, as well, about 25 to 30 years ago, in that time, the prison population there was just over 100, maybe 110. And over 100 prisoners came to my talk. Almost the whole prison population. The only ones who didn't come were those in solitary confinement or seeing the doctor or something. And I couldn't believe just how many criminals were interested in meditation, interested in actually doing something with their life, improving themselves. That was just so inspiring to see. And so I really gave the best possible talk I can on meditation. I really wanted to actually meet them halfway. If they were going to be interested in this and do something with their lives, make themselves better, I was also going to help them. And I'd only been talking about meditation maybe about 10 minutes when this big guy stood up. He was one of the leaders in the prison. You know, they all have their gangs. He was one of the gang leaders. He was about 6'4", and that was just across his shoulders. Lots of scars on him. And when someone like that, I often say, when someone like that stands up to interrupt you and say, "Can I ask a question?" You say, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please." And he said, "This is on behalf of all the people here. Is it really true?" he asked. "Is it really true that through meditation you can learn how to fly over walls?" And he actually said that. That's absolutely true. I didn't make this up. And then I realized why so many prisoners had come to my meditation class. That's all they're interested in, levitation. And they were so dumb and stupid, they believed that a couple of meditation classes, you could do that, and then they're all out of jail. So when I told them, look, yeah, levitation can sometimes happen. It's incredibly rare. You have to be a really skilled meditator for life. Hours and hours to do something like that. When I went back next week to continue the class, only 3 people turned up. That's what they were in there for. But anyway, this one prisoner came up to me after the meditation class, and he said, he wanted a talk to me. I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Ajahn Brahma, I need your help." I said, "Yeah, what is it?" He said, "I've been put in jail for something I didn't do." And he said, "Look, I know many people would lie to you like that, and they would say they didn't do the crime, but honestly, I wouldn't lie to you. I respect you. You're a Buddhist monk. I really admire you. Not lying. Honestly, I never did that robbery. I was set up, and I'm in jail for something I didn't do." And I've got a very solid ideal of social justice. And when I heard that, I thought, this is not on. And I realized that when you're in jail, you can't do very much. You've got maybe one phone call a week if you're lucky. How on earth can you right or wrong if you're right in the middle of a prison sentence? But I thought, I know a lot of people. I know lawyers. Maybe I can take up his case. And I started thinking of all the people which I would ring as soon as I got out of that prison and got back to my monastery. And as I was thinking of all these people I knew to help him, he interrupted me. And it was this old guy, and he had such a cheeky smile on his face. He said, but Brahm, There were so many other robberies which I got away with where I wasn't caught. I guess this is fair. And he taught me, I'm supposed to be the expert in Buddhism, he taught me the law of karma. Yes, you get blamed for things you didn't do, but how many times you get away with things where you should have been blamed and you don't get blamed, you get away with it? How many times do you think it's so unfair I got caught by the speed camera today? You think it's really unfair. And how many times you've been speeding and you haven't been caught? Do you really think that's unfair? Of course, sometimes we get blamed for things we didn't do, but then we get away with things where we should get blamed for. So in the end, it becomes fair. It all evens out. So if you ever get blamed for something you didn't do, just cop it. Accept it. Yeah, okay, I didn't do that, but there's many other things, I'm glad you didn't find out. So that means you can let it go and you don't keep bothering about it. And when it comes to blaming others, how on earth can you blame somebody else? Number one, you don't know why they did that or if they even meant it. But still, we love to blame people. And that actually stops us moving forward, dealing with the problem, and moving past it, transcending it. When you're blaming somebody else, it means that you are losing control. Somebody else's problem, which means that you can't fix it. It's their fault. You are disempowering yourself. So, anytime you blame others and you think it's your parents' fault, your teacher's fault, the government's fault, or somebody else's fault, it means the problem can't be solved. Because you have to fix it in somebody else. But when you take, instead of blaming others, you can take some responsibility for it yourself. Doesn't mean you're blaming yourself. You're saying, well, there's something I can do about that. And what you do about it is number one, saying, well, these things happen in life. That people do cheat. They do let you down. They do just destroy stuff. Just like this person who complained to me that they got robbed and somebody took all of their whiskey. And I said, marvellous, you're Buddhist, you shouldn't have had that in the first place. So you say thank you to that burglar. Or to the burglar who robbed Bodhinyana Monastery. Was it early this year or last year? They went into our workshop and they stole generators and chainsaws and lots of expensive equipment. And do I blame that burglar? No, if he's hearing this talk from Ajahn Brahmavamso, thank you so much, because these were old stuff, and from the insurance we managed to get new stuff. So we came out ahead on this. So the next time, we need to replace our generators and chainsaws at Bodhinyana Monastery, can we please give you a call and book you to rob our workshop? So this is, instead of blaming people for what happened to you in life, sometimes you can thank them. I really blame my old girlfriend for dumping me. We were going out together and she started seeing another guy. Is that bad? Oh, thank you so much, girlfriend. If you hadn't have done that, I'd probably still going out with you, maybe married to you, I wouldn't become a monk. And oh, thank you so much, because I prefer being a monk. So a lot of times which we think as terrible things happen to us, in the end actually works out to be sometimes quite positive. So how can you blame somebody? Instead, we say, well, this is it, this is the hand I'm dealt with, let's work on this, let's make it work. Because every time you're blaming someone, your negativity sucks up so much of your energy. That's why people get depressed these days, because they're so negative about life. And when you get negative, it's like a drain. All your energy just goes into the sewers. And you haven't got enough energy anyway, so why do you waste it blaming somebody else? You can't do anything. It's them. You can't go up there and change them. So instead, stop blaming people. Stop getting negative, and even say, thank you. Thank you for what you did. Because from that, I can grow and learn, and amazing things can happen. If it never happened, for all of you who come here because you've got emotional problems, life problems, health problems, if you didn't have that cancer, you would never come here in the first place. Woohoo! If you hadn't been divorced from your ex, you wouldn't have ever got interested in the Buddhist society. You would never started meditating. You never know just how the things which happen to us in life are the blessings in disguise. So thank you so much. So, there was this old story of this guy. He found him in the cemetery, and he was standing by a grave, and he was crying and sobbing by this grave, and the grave was of another guy. And they said, was that your brother? He said, no. Was that your father? He said, no. Well, who was it, and why are you so sad that he's died? He said, that was my wife's first husband. If he hadn't have died. I'm glad you got that joke. So, sometimes why do you blame people for what happens? Because you can't do anything about it. But what you can do is, whatever happens to you in life, you can make use of it. And this is one of the reasons why there's, in my life I've met some incredible people. Look, take Nelson Mandela. He's a well-known example. There's a person, 26 years in jail. Did he blame anyone for that? Instead of blaming anyone from that, he made use of it. To become an incredible person who understood a lot of time for thinking and for understanding, and he became a much better person. And you may not know, there was a famous Thai monk many years ago who also got put in jail for something he never did. He was, any Thai people, Chao Kuntep Siddhimuni. And he became quite a hero because, there was hierarchies in Thailand, and he was a number 2 monk in the whole country. And the number 1 monk, they called it Sangha, was about to die. And so he was next in line. He became the head monk in Thailand. But the number 3 monk was jealous. And he said, I can't be the head monk as long as number 2 is more senior to me and much better respected. So how can I do something to basically get rid of him? It was just like US politics. So they trumped up a charge. No, that wasn't a joke. Forget Donald Trump. They made up a charge that this guy was a communist at a time when people were really paranoid about communism, maybe 30, 40 years ago. And all they did, he also gave lots of talks. They were recorded on the old tape reels, and they got this saying and cut it out, another saying, put it all together. And it's amazing, I speak so much. If you get all of my talks and splice this and splice that, you can actually prove anything. I say anything. That's what they did to him. But unfortunately, the charge stuck, and he was accused of being a communist and put in jail for 3 years. And did he complain? Did he blame anybody? Oh no, he thanked everybody. Because for 3 years, he never had to give a talk, never had to teach a meditation retreat, didn't have to answer any questions. In jail, he was a real monk, just meditating all day, just get the food, didn't have to answer people's questions or do any counseling. He said it was the best time of his monk's life. And I often think of him because if ever I get sent to jail for something I never did, it'd be like a holiday for me. Because in Bodhinyana Monastery we only get 2 meals a day. In prison you get 3 meals a day. And I don't have to do anything. And if ever I want to go on a retreat in prison, all I need to do is to punch a prison officer on the nose, and you get 3 months solitary, which for a monk is bliss. So this monk never blamed anybody. He thanked, thank you so much, for lying and sending me to jail. Now that's the right attitude. Actually, what happened? Interesting how karma works. That the monk who was the head monk at the time, he died, and so number 3 took over and became the head monk. And because he was a senior monk in Thailand, where they get treated like royalty, he was in a convoy going to the airport, the old airport in Don Mueang. Police on either side, and a car on the opposite side of the road lost control and slammed in to the limousine carrying the head monk, just right where he was sitting. No one else was injured, but that monk was killed. When something weird like that happens, just a strange event, why was that monk killed and no one else? Then they started to think that must be karma. They must have done something bad. And they investigated and went through the recordings of the trial and realized that this monk was innocent. So they let him out of jail. He just went back to his monastery, put on his robes again and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then he had to go back to work again. Such a shame. But that was a very nice story where people don't get angry. Why do you allow other people to control your happiness? You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't made any mistakes. So why do you allow other people to make you upset and blame them for what happened? So for me, blame game doesn't work. Blaming other people, you can't change it anyone. And then you get blaming yourself. Have you ever made mistakes in life? I was taught the way I was trained in Thailand as a young monk. When I made mistakes, everyone laughed. It was considered to be funny. You were never scolded. And I made so many mistakes. I caused so much happiness from my teacher. He was laughing all the time. So, even now, when I make mistakes, I tell all of you my latest mistake so that you can laugh as well. So, one of the latest mistakes, I think I may have told you this just before the Rains retreat, but there was a Chinese man who was in Royal Perth Hospital in the ICU ward. He was dying. And the family invited me to go up to do some chanting for him. And, I say I'd chant for anything. So off I went and did some chanting for this elderly man. The whole family were there. And I'm a very good chanter. Really strong, power. And I really gave it everything I got. And you know what happened? Like a miracle. The fellow went into remission. He started to get better. And that was my big mistake. The family really scolded me. They said, listen, Ajahn Brahm, we've already arranged the funeral. The whole family have come over from overseas. We just wanted you to go in there and chant so he had a peaceful death. Now you've made him get better. Now we've got to come back again another 3 or 4 months when he dies properly next time. But next time he's in ICU, we're not going to invite you. We invite some other monk. We didn't want him to get better. We just wanted him to die peacefully. So that was my mistake. I didn't ask what type of chanting they wanted. So from that time on, I always make sure when I go to hospital to chant for somebody, ask what chanting you want. Do you want to get your mother to get better or to die peacefully? Otherwise, I don't know what to do. So I made a big mistake there. And what happens? You laugh. So you don't blame anybody these days because life is funny. We're all allowed to make mistakes. When you do make a mistake, please let people know because it makes life much more fun. And it also means that we don't blame people for making mistakes. When we make mistakes, a lot of time that's when we really learn. So many great discoveries in life were made when people made mistakes. You know, the bread was getting moldy and somebody discovered, that was penicillin. They should have put the bread in the fridge or get some fresh bread or something. So often in life, the mistakes are where we learn, where we grow. So that's what I always say, that when you make a mistake, that is the learning place of life. That's where you grow. You don't blame anybody, but you learn and you grow. You make use of the mistakes in life rather than blaming them. And that means you get wiser and wiser and wiser. So someone does cheat you at business or something, and you learn, just be careful next time. Don't just trust a person just because they're especially a relation. Just do your research first of all. You go out with someone. You don't go out with someone just because they look hot. Do your research, get on Facebook, find out what they are, first of all. Check out their old girlfriends or boyfriends and find out just, what they thought of them. But, every now and again you make a mistake, and there you go, you learn from it next time. Just not just to believe in appearances and what's on the outside. And that means that you get wiser every time. So as one, I forget who it was now, but he's a famous business person over here in Australia. Because I get to some really interesting gigs. One gig I went to some years ago was to go to this resort island on Hayman Island. Now that is really a top resort, and I was invited there, all expenses paid, flown over to the Gold Coast, the Great Barrier Reef. It's almost like a 6-star hotel. And that was quite a few years ago because it was a leadership conference. And at that leadership conference, there was Kevin Rudd was there, and Julia Gillard, and Swan, and the Anna Bligh from Queensland. She was the premier there. And the Premier of Victoria was there, and all these big shots were there, and all these big business people were there, and it was really interesting. And I was teaching them how to meditate, and how to actually to give them a bit of wisdom about how to live in harmony together. That didn't really work. But anyway, I tried. Actually, I remember the story I did tell them, which they thought was funny, was, the old, I'm just going off on a tangent, the old story of the elephant and the 7 wise, the elephant and the 7 blind men. Many of you know that story. Every blind man felt a different part of the elephant, and because of that sort of they argued. Elephant is like a tree trunk. Elephant's like a fly whisk who felt the tail. Elephant's like a plough who felt the tusk. And they all argued what an elephant was. They were all right, but they should have actually combined their knowledge. And I decided to do an alternative of that one. And that is of the story, the great Buddhist story of the 7 blind elephants. And they always heard about a man. What's a man? We've heard about a man, but what is a man? And they'd heard about the 7 blind men. The only way you can find out is find an elephant, said the 7 blind men, feel it, and instead of arguing on who's right, combine your knowledge. Don't argue, combine. So the 7 blind men figured out an elephant's a big rock on 4 tree trunks with a fly whisk on the back, a water pot on the top. On the middle of the water pot is a big snake, 2 ploughs on either side of the snake, and 2 big fans on either side of the water pot, the ears. And that's not a bad description. So when the blind elephants, heard about this, they thought, that's how we can find what a man is. Let's all find a man each, feel the man, come back, and we combine our experience. But unlike the first part of the story, when the blind elephants, they all found a man each, and when they came back to compare experiences, they all agreed. A man was flat. You've got it. That's the only way an elephant can feel anybody, squashing it. And I remember telling that to Kevin Rudd, and I think that's probably why Julia Gillard squashed him. It's my fault, sorry. But don't blame me. These things happen. So anyway, so you learn from your mistakes. But one of these big businessmen there, he always said, what he grew up with, and I thought it's a wonderful thing to share. We don't ever call it failure. We call it forward failing. And just add that positive forward failing. It means, yes, it doesn't work, but you learn from it, you grow from it, you don't blame people. That's actually stopping your growth and your progress and your development in life. You make a mistake with a boyfriend, a girlfriend, it doesn't work out. For goodness sake, don't blame him, blame the... And look, all you girls, don't blame boys. They're all the same. What do you expect? Do your research. It's like trying to find a dog which doesn't go woof woof. That's what dogs do, they bark. And what men do is say, later, darling, I'm busy. So this is just what people do. So we don't blame them, we do our research. And if we do fail, we learn. And by learning, it means we grow, we become better next time. So there's always growth. When you blame people, you're not learning anymore. You're just growing on the past, thinking it's somebody else's fault, rather than using that experience for your own personal growth, for the growth of your community, for the growth of the country, for the growth of the world. Yeah, we make mistakes. So stop blaming, learn. Because this is the old way of acknowledge, forgive and learn. The opposite of blaming is forgiveness. And all forgiveness is realizing I am not going to allow this to stop me growing. Because when you blame and rather than forgive, you're stunted. No growth is left because you're still blaming something which happened years ago. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago sometimes. And that is not going to help at all. You don't learn from mistakes. You forgive mistakes. You learn from successes. What went right? That is where growth comes from. So failures, mistakes, we don't blame them. We leave them alone, let them go. But when it works, that's where you get the best growth from. And I teach that to businesses. Why in a business something goes wrong? Or in government something goes wrong? Donald Trump. Are you going to learn from mistakes? No, just let that one go. Learn from successes. Why some people elect really good people? Where did a Mandela come from? Where did a Gandhi come from? Why were they elected? You know, one of the reasons is because they did sort of stand for something which was inspiring in the world. They were willing to give their life for the cause. As I always remember Gandhi saying, he can see 1,000 reasons to sacrifice his life for a good cause. Could never see the reason to take the life of another, not one reason. 1,000 reasons to give his life, to serve, to sacrifice. Now those are the inspirational things which are wonderful in this life. Why can't we learn from that and inspire ourselves from that? To come back to something which is really going to uplift people, rather than just thinking, who is going to get the jobs back, who is going to make us richer, who is going to stop the hip pocket thing. Because one thing I've noticed, now here I go, I wasn't going to talk about this, one thing I've realised is why is it we always elect politicians who promise the most, who are the most convincing in their thinking that they're going to live up to their promises. And then once we elect the government who promises us the most, then we get upset at them that they never deliver on their promises. So I don't know what Donald Trump has promised, but I guarantee he won't deliver. No politician ever does. So you can feel content that and safe that he will break his promises, because that's what politicians do. But for me, I always think that we should never elect a politician on his promises or her promises, but on their past record. What have they done in the past? How trustworthy are they? How innovative? How hard-working? So for goodness sake, whoever promises anything, just forget about that. Stop promising. But what have you done in the past? Just the same way we can elect somebody to run our Buddhist society or run a company, not on what they promised to do, but what they've done in the past. Have they got a track record of good stuff? So we actually learn from our mistakes rather than blaming people. And that means there's growth. And we can have forward failing, a better person, you're a better person, everyone becomes better. As we acknowledge, mistakes, we forgive them, we learn from them, and thereby we grow from them. So please don't go around blaming other people. It's a total waste. They won't listen to you anyway. You are just wasting your energy getting into negativity. Instead of blaming, we learn, but also try a bit of praise as well. Because I always say that praise, flattery gets you everywhere in the world. Praise the people you live with, and they actually become better people. Somebody asked me this: if you go praising people, won't people get big heads and become egotistical? And actually that's not the way it works psychologically. If you praise a person, they actually become big-hearted and kind. But if you keep criticizing them, fault-finding them, blaming them, that actually feeds their ego. They've got something to prove. And they become just really pains in the neck. You try that. If you blame your partner in life, keep finding fault with him or her, they get worse. Try praising them. See a quality in them which you admire. Praise that, and that quality grows. Same in yourself. You can blame many things about yourself, see all of your faults, but does that really help? It just makes you negative, and actually those faults grow. You look at your positive side, your good side, your kind side, you look at that, and that part actually starts to grow. Praise, not blame, is the way of, I was taught, the way I try and teach my monks, the way I try and encourage the nuns, the way I try to encourage people in this Buddhist society. Just well done. Even if I'm pushing it a bit. Well done. And that means you don't blame people, you encourage them. They get motivated and they do much better next time. So please, let go of the blame. And if people blame you, remember the story of the donkey. Just shrug it off. Stamp it in and you get a bit higher. Don't blame other people, it's a waste of time. Just forward failing, remember the successes, never remember the faults. Don't blame, and then you find you're happier and life becomes much more successful. Thank you for listening. Excellent. Now we have the questions, otherwise known as the comments, criticisms and complaints. So we have some from overseas, but is there anyone who is here who would like to ask a question about what has just been talked about? Okay, we'll go here from overseas. They don't actually, one is a comment, the other one is from Vienna, Germany and Portugal. Comment, a joyful moment to share from the audience watching the live stream on YouTube. The camera angle tonight makes it look like Ajahn Brahm is wearing a beautiful flower hat. Oh my goodness. How embarrassing. Anyway, never mind, that's fine. So, IT people, please have a look at that next time. A beautiful flower. Anyway, from Vienna, Austria. My partner thinks I need to see that some people are spiteful or want to take advantage of me. Could I be too trusting? Well, if people are spiteful of you and take advantage of you, Learn from it. Is it really helping you? Because I tell people take advantage of me all the time. That's my purpose in life, to be taken advantage of. It's wonderful when you allow that to happen, instead of just resisting it. They're going to take advantage of me anyway, so I might as well accept it. And if they're spiteful of me, oh, that's their problem. I am not going to receive any spite from people. I'm just going to go be happy and just carry on. So, could I be too trusting? You know, sometimes too doubting is more of a problem than too trusting. Some people are just so doubting of one another, they can't have any relationships. They never actually trust that somebody's actually sincere. And I've always found that always err on the side of trusting a person over much, even if they don't deserve it. It makes for much beautiful. If you don't trust anyone in this world, it's such a lonely, terrible, black, cold world. So trust and be disappointed, rather than don't trust at all and always be really cold and alone. Anyway, from Germany, how do you share criticism without making it sound like you're blaming someone for their actions or opinion? Oh, that's an easy one. That is the old sandwich method, a great way for criticizing somebody. You praise them first of all. Say it's your husband who, say, doesn't brush his teeth, he's got bad breath. So you tell your husband, you're just a wonderful husband. I'm so lucky to have met you. You really got a good job. You bring lots of money into the family. You're so loving and so kind. Because when you praise them like that, their ears start to open up. They're actually listening to you for a change. So praise, 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 praise. And then when you think that their ears are open enough, then you hit them with it. But we do have enough toothbrushes. You can sort of, you don't need to sort of skimp on toothpaste. So please brush your teeth. But I still love you anyway. Everything else about you is really nice. You wash your socks, your feet don't smell. But so you finish off with praise. It's called sandwich. So praise, 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 praise until they're listening. Then you hit them with the criticism. Then you praise afterwards, because otherwise, they think, is that all she ever thinks about? My bad breath. I work so hard for her. I do all this for her. So you make them feel that they're wanted and they're liked by praise at the end. So praise, 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 then the criticism, and then praise afterwards. It's called sandwich, and it works. Last question from Portugal. Dear Ajahn Brahm, we hear you say to let it go, but that seems the most difficult part. How can we actually let it go? Just like in your computer, there is a button, it's my favorite button on the computer, it's called delete. Spam, delete. Don't even open that. Don't be even interested in it. Just delete straight away. Many emails, have a look, nah, I'm not interested in that, delete. President of the Buddhist Society of West Australia, nah, delete. Treasurer, nah, delete. So the delete button is your favorite button. Try using it on your computer first of all to let it go. Because all those emails are mostly rubbish anyway, even from your mother, your father and stuff like that. You've heard it all before. So, delete, 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 delete. And that makes life so easy. You've got no work to do, no emails to answer. Delete, 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 delete. That's called letting go. Isn't that being irresponsible? Look, if it's really an important email, they'll send it to you again. So if you see it a second time, maybe, no, delete. Wait for the third time, then I'll... I'm really irresponsible, monk. But that's how we let things go. And so how do you let it go? This is what we learn in meditation. That's why we meditate, to learn what letting go is. So simple things, like on your body. What makes you tense? What makes you relaxed? Whatever makes you relax is called letting go. Say you're on holiday at the beach. You all know how to let go on the beach. Relax. You're not holding anything tight. No tension. Really nice and easy. You know how to do that with your body. Why not do that with your mind as well? No tension. Not holding anything tight, not pulling from the past, all that stuff which happened to you, not worrying about the future. Future, delete. Past, delete. Problems, delete, 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 delete. And when you've let go of anything, your mind is free, there's nothing in it. Totally free and at peace. That's how we let go. So why can't we let go? Because we're afraid. If I don't answer that email, maybe it's important. It's not important, I guarantee. You are not that important and Mr. Trump is going to call you for advice. So you can delete most of the emails. So that's actually how you let things go. You learn how to use the delete button in your brain to simplify it. You've got so much stuff in there. Other way of letting go, people reminded me of this. Lee reminded me of this yesterday. It was a story of my mother's shelf. I used to go and visit my mother in London, and the first time I went from Australia, you've got to give her something. So somebody got me this very nice, cuddly toy kangaroo. You know, it was like a symbol. Okay, it was quiche, but you know, I gave this soft, cuddly toy of a kangaroo so I could give it to my mother, so when I left and came back to Australia, something she could remember her son by. And you know, she loved it. She put it on the shelf, right in the centre. And then the next time I went, what can I get her now? Kawaii. By pretending it. Another subject. Right now, we'll pay respects to Buddha, Dharma and Sangha if you want to, and then you can all go and do what you have to do. I have to go back to China Grove. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami